It's time for Chillrend weapon review in Oblivion Remaster Master Mode. So Chillrend is a unique glass short sword that has a pretty cool enchantment that gives it pretty big damage, and it also has pretty good base damage at level 25 plus. Now this is a leveled quest reward, so if you do this quest early, you will have a much weaker version of Chillrend. It can still be useful for early game or middle game, but if you want to use this as an end game weapon, you should hold off on turning in the quest. Now you can still do the quest early. You can do the quest as early as level 1, and I will show a very easy way to get the quest completed that requires minimal effort that even works on Master Mode. But let's go over the stats of the weapon. So at level 25 plus, Chillrend has 4,160 charge, 80 uses, and it has 20 points of frost damage on strike, and then 35% debuff, weakness to frost on strike that lasts for 20 seconds. So the weapon kind of ramps itself. So if you hit an enemy, it'll apply the weakness to frost, and as you continue to hit an enemy, they will continue to take, more damage from this single debuff. Now this does work with other ramps. So if I throw like a weakness to magic, weakness to frost enchant, or debuff on an enemy and then hit them with this, the weakness to frost 35, I believe, would be scaled to 70%. So this does work with a ramp build. Now there's some pros and cons to this weapon. One of the big advantages is if you were to custom make this effect, 20 points frost damage, 35% weakness, 20 seconds, it's going to cost you way more uses. However, one of the downsides to Chillrend is that it has such a high charge level. So a Grand Soul is 1600 charge. So if you make a dagger or a weapon with a Grand Soul gem, all you need is a Grand Soul gem or a Greater Soul gem to more or less fully recharge the weapon. And the issue with Chillrend and certain artifacts and quest rewards is that the charge level is much higher. So you actually need more than 2 Grand Souls to recharge this weapon. Now, if you're running something like Azura's Star, you also now need to cast Soul Trap. So if I were to make like a custom dagger that works off of a ramp or something, or even self ramps, I can add Soul Trap to that, and it can recharge itself through combat as I kill non-black souls, meaning creature souls. So the weapon does have some huge advantages in that it has good base damage, a good attack rate, and a good effect, but the downsides of the high charge level and arguably the late game availability do kind of hurt it, because before I can get this at level 25, I could easily get like a Daedric dagger and throw some enchants on it, or even just enchant like any dagger for huge DPS. So let's actually test this thing out and see what kind of damage it can put out in Master Mode. So here's a Dremora dude, let's just go fight him. So I'm just gonna go for power attacks and then DPS. So the per hit damage is pretty decent. Now I do need to back off and heal for a second because I'm taking too much damage here. So in terms of just raw DPS, it's not bad without any help. You can use this in Master Mode and do okay. The big issue is keeping it charged though. So as I'm attacking, I'm like burning out its charge, and I will generally need a Grand Soul Gem to fill a little bit over a third of it. So around 40% gets filled with the Grand Soul Gem. So in order to keep using it, I'm going to need multiple Grand Soul Gems, and I'm also going to need some kind of source of Soul Trap. What kind of custom spell should you run with Chillrend if you want to use this as your main weapon? Well, there's two big issues you have to overcome. The first one is that you need Soul Trap from magic or from an external weapon that has a long Soul Trap. So you could use Umbra, hit the enemy with Umbra once, put a 120-second Soul Trap on them, and then kill them, and that'll be an easy way to get Soul Trap. Alternatively, you can put it on through magic. I do recommend getting 100 Mysticism so your Soul Trap is as cheap as possible so that you save mana, because when you add Soul Trap to another spell, the magnitude of every effect is based on that School of Magic's level. So if I have like 25 Mysticism and I put Soul Trap 10 on a Destruction spell, that Soul Trap 10 will cost me more mana than if I had 100 Mysticism. So we want something like this. I would say 10 seconds is a good duration for kind of like general spell. If you make it shorter than this, it can easily run out before you can get the kill. So with armor, I believe this will be a 9-second debuff. So we could just call this single ramp. Now, if you want to make this weapon deal more damage, you can cast another instance of this spell without the soul trap. So you can have your opening spell be like a 5-second weakness to frost, weakness to magic, or like a 7-second, and then cast a second spell to ramp it. But if you just want to do like a single effect like this should be good enough. Let's actually equip it. There it is. Okay, and then we'll test it out against a Daedroth. So what we're looking for is to be able to kill a decent level threat with this ability. So look at the per hit damage with a single ramp. I'm using Radial Cancel to quickly kill, and then we Soul Trap, and then after we Soul Trap, we recharge Chillrend. Now, I do highly recommend running Conjuration with this weapon just for recharging Azura Star because it uses so many charges per hit. If you fight a bunch of enemies that cannot be absorbed into Azura Star, you will quickly run out of charge, and if you don't have Grand and Greater Soul Gems on reserve, you want some kind of way to recharge the weapon out of combat, and summoning a Daedroth and killing it with a single ramp is a perfect way of doing that. And you can also pre-enchant Azura Star so that you can use it mid-combat, so we don't have to wait to run out. We can actually kill a thing in advance, like this, and now we have charge level for when we need it. So I could top off here, or alternatively what I could do is when I'm actually in combat and my charge starts to go down, I can just tap 7, which I always bind Azura Star to refill mid-combat. And of course, if we do multiple ramp spells that are different spells and we cast them on the summon, it does huge damage. So here's ramp 1, I switch to ramp 2, there's ramp 2, and then our per hit damage is pretty insane. And just with the basic 2 ramp, Chillrend will melt everything for very low mana. So in that way, it is a very strong weapon, and I'm going to give it a rating now, and then we're going to go into how to get it easily. For the rating, I'm going to give this thing a 9.5 out of 10, even though it has the downside of needing to be acquired at level 25 plus for its maximum enchant, and it has high charge capacity. As long as you account for these weaknesses, this thing is super cracked. It easily beats the game. It self-ramps. Even just by itself, it does good enough damage on Master Mode to just take fights. But once you add Soul Trap, and once you add a single or a double or even a triple ramp, if you add a 3-way ramp, you're one-shotting. If you add a triple ramp, you're killing in like 3 to 6 hits. And if you use a single ramp, you're killing in like 10 to 15 hits with basic attacks. So the damage gets really far out of control. And you can make use of it, especially if you run 2 to 3 ramp. 2 to 3 ramp, you're only swinging a few times per kill, especially if you're soul trapping and using Conjuration. This weapon is just always charged and ready to kill things. So I do recommend grabbing it, but now let's go into actually getting the weapon itself. So after you close the first Oblivion gates, what you want to do is grab Martin, because he is actually overpowered as hell. And you can also get a bonus person. You can get Joffrey as well. Okay, after you save Joffrey in Wayne Priory, you have 2 followers, and then you want to travel to Coral South Gate. From the South Gate, go to the right, and there's an inn. And in the inn is the quest giver for the Killing Field, which is the quest to get Chillrend. So you have to talk to this dude, Valus Odil. Yes. Talk to him about his sons, creatures. Yes, I'll help. Okay, now in order to complete this quest and get Chillrend, you have to make sure that neither of the sons die. So the reason we're grabbing Joffrey and Martin is because they're overpowered and will easily kill the goblins. You have to fight 3 waves of 3 goblins. And on Master Mode, unless you have a really powerful build, or if you're running like Poisons or Conjuration, or you get spell making early and run ramps, all of these can be used to easily complete the quest, but grabbing these 2 is pretty much like a guaranteed way of completing the quest. So then we'll activate Killing Field, and in order to do the quest, you actually have to meet dudes near Wayne and Priory, funny enough. So here are the 2 brothers.
I'm afraid I haven't.
Creatures. Now they're going to be essential until the quest starts. When the quest starts, they can actually be damaged and killed. So we have a huge posse, basically. And I'll show where the goblins spawn so you can kind of proactively attack them. So once the brothers finally arrive, you'll have to fight 3 waves of 3 goblins. Sometimes the quest bugs out and spawns more, so definitely just keep reloading the save or exiting the game and reopening the game if that happens. But what you want to do is go to this first rock over here, and fight these goblins that spawn. The goblins spawn at the rocks. There's 3 rocks nearby. This is the first spawn. This is the second spawn. That is the third spawn. So you don't want to die, obviously. And you want to lead Joffrey and Martin to the goblins so that they can easily kill them. And you can actually just run away. You don't even have to fight because you have Joffrey and Martin. But you can go for combat if you want to. Just know that, like, if you're level 1, you don't have your build, you don't have tanking, you could die pretty quickly, especially on master mode. So we're just going to lead them to the goblins, and then the final wave is over here. I'm trying to engage the goblins early to get Joffrey and Martin to attack so that the brothers are safe. Now, sometimes additional goblins spawn, but generally it should be like 3 goblins per wave. It looks like this wave has 4. So we're just going to run around as they fight them. Very often, the goblins will focus you, but after you complete the quest, do not turn it in right away. If you turn it in right away, what can happen is you will get the low-level version of Chillrend, but now that the quest is complete, and the brothers are starting to return and they're safe, all we have to do is just wait until we're level 25 and then go turn in the quest. And the quest is at the inn that we were just at. So all you have to do is just return back to the inn and then grab your level 25 plus Chillrend. So that is it for this one. Overall, I would say Chillrend is a really strong weapon, especially when using ramps. It's also really good without using ramps if you're doing like a no destruction run or something like that, because it gives you access to weakness to frost, which is a very powerful effect. And that is it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.